Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. Today, we are continuing our ongoing coverage of the war between the Russian Federation and Ukraine. And today, there is information coming out of the U.S. Department of Defense. Obviously, not a lot of names are being named. But we're seeing two narratives. And both of these narratives are leading to one destination. And I'm going to let that destination, I'm going to leave that up to you in terms of where you believe that destination is heading. So the first narrative is that the Ukrainian counteroffensive has failed. It is not going to achieve its objectives. The Russian defensive positions, and more importantly, the Russian Air Force has been more proficient at destroying Ukrainian combat units than initially assessed. But at the very beginning of this, we here at MFAN stated that the idea that we would see a successful Ukrainian offensive with a military goal of severing the land corridor from Russia proper to the Crimea was not going to happen without an Air Force. Furthermore, casualty figures. It is now starting to come out, now starting to be reported on the massive amounts of casualties the Ukrainians have suffered. The U.S. is acknowledging, now these are U.S. numbers, that the Ukrainians have suffered in excess or approximately 70,000 KIA. Additionally, 100 to 120,000 Ukrainian soldiers have been wounded over the course of the last year plus, especially in the last several days, in several weeks. The Ukrainian forces, going back from June to presently, have taken massive amounts of casualties. So you have those two narratives. First narrative, the Ukrainians, are not going to achieve its military goals. And at this point, if you look at the territory that has exchanged hands, that the Ukrainians have taken control over, you look at the area near Robatnya and the area near Staromyorsk and Uruzhan. Again, not a great deal of success. Again, remember, the Ukrainians were attempting a breakthrough to push down all the way to Mariupol, Berdyansk, Melitopol, seizing control of Tokmak. I believe the Ukrainians, at the very least, believed that they were going to be able to pressure and threaten Tokmak. Didn't happen. Not even close. The baseline, the main Russian defensive belt, was never even penetrated. So what happens next? We're continuing to see the Russians attack near Kupiansk. We're continuing to see this broad frontal assault by Russian forces continue in this area. We are continuing to see the Russian airstrikes, the Russian use of more and more accurate glide bombs, drone strikes, attack helicopters. It's continuing. Now we're hearing, if you look at legacy media, they're now reporting that the U.S. is going to allow the transfer of F-16 Fighting Falcons to the Ukrainians. Now, I think you're seeing that because there are two schools of thought within the confines of this conflict. I think and I believe that those who are not schooled in the operational art and will understand what is happening on the ground are being told, well, the Ukrainians went forward without an air force. They don't have a real air capacity, and that's what has led to this defeat. So then you get the response, well, let's give them an air force. If that's all they need, let's give them an air force. Let's give them some F-16s. That'll do it. No, it won't. Hit the pause button. There is a lot more to this than just handing over some F-16s and declaring that the Ukrainians will now be successful because they have an air force. It's not going to work like that. But those with low military IQ are going to push for that, thinking it's going to be this panacea. It is what is going to create the environment for Ukrainian success. Will it help the Ukrainians some? Possibly. But will it change the outcome of what's happening on the ground right now? No, it won't. Those F-16s will be shot down. Without a doubt. The F-16s will provide no more military capacity than what the Ukrainian Su-24s are being used as. Again, if the F-16s go to altitude and try to engage the Russian Air Force, they're going to be shot down. The only reason the Ukrainians are able to use those Su-24s and launch JDAMs and launch cruise missiles, Storm Shadows, is because those systems, those Su-24s, are being used at extremely low altitudes and are being used in a standoff role. You can do that with another aircraft without having to give them an F-16. But for some reason, the low IQ military observer, the politicians, believe that you hand over a dozen F-16s, it's going to change the outcome. They're going to gain air superiority. It's not what's going to happen. F-16s may shoot down some Russian fighters, but at the end of the day, the Russian air defense system is just too great for these F-16s to operate at altitude. It's not going to happen. So that's where we set for today. We are going to continue to analyze. We are going to continue to report. As always, we are bringing you the factual information that the legacy media will not provide. And as always, have a good day.